Hey everybody, it's Kim here. We're going to be going over the swing swim top pattern. I'm so excited to be working on this pattern because I think Lowland Kids has done such a great job at making it simple, straightforward, but effective. So first, gather all your materials. We're going to be needing swim fabric, swim lining, and swim elastic. Now, as you can probably see, I skipped the lining part and just made my lining the same as my swim fabric because I prefer for there to be a print underneath the swing top. But you can do it as you like it. Be sure to also cut the binding as well. I also cut the top piece with an extra inch in the length because I just like it a little longer. And the instructions are useful to have on hand for later. The first thing you're going to do is put the top pieces together and just sew those side seams, as well as the lining pieces, and also sew the two side seams together. You can do this on either a regular sewing machine using like a zigzag stitch or some type of stretch stitch, or a serger. Now, swim fabric is a bit slippery, so be sure to use pins as needed. Now we are going to slip the liner into the swing top. And if you are using a printed fabric like I am, then you'll want that print to be showing. However, if you're actually using the swim lining, like where it's white or nude or whatever color you're doing, then you typically want the two seams to be facing each other so that there's no seam rubbing against the child. But since I really want to show that print, that's why I'm doing it this way. So this is one modification that I made. Just want to make that clear. Next, you're going to apply we didn't stitch anything together yet, but next we're going to apply the binding for the top, and that will secure the two pieces together, the swim top and the swim lining. I like to pin it in place at the beginning and the end, and barely have the lining go outside of it, because when you fold it over it tends to need that excess there. And here I'm just showing you that your binding is supposed to be a little bit smaller than the neck hole itself, so you will be stretching it to fit. When you're stretching things to fit, you want to make sure you're never stretching the garment itself, so like the bodice part, but you are stretching the binding. And the reason you do that is so that there isn't any gaping happening. So just kind of go slow, especially with a serger. Just take it easy, do little bits at a time. I think this part would have been easier to do on a sewing machine first, to attach all the pieces, maybe with a based stitch, and then go back and serge after, because I did feel like it was slipping around a lot, especially being the first and such a small amount of such a small piece. So anyway, do what works best for you, but next time I'll probably do it on the sewing machine first. So now we are going to fold the binding over. There are two ways to do it, and I'm just showing you first that you can do a single fold, which is when you just fold it straight over, and then you would stitch on top of that. So just fold it once. But I prefer to do a double fold. So when you do a double fold, you fold it in half so that it's halfway to that raw edge, and then fold it over once more. I think it's like a cleaner, prettier finish, and so that's what I chose to do for my entire binding. So when I cut my binding, I actually did it at 1.5 inches wide instead of 1.25 inches. So after everything was pinned, I had my double needle placed in my machine, and I top stitched along the binding. It is good to double check and like look underneath, make sure that you're catching all of that fabric underneath and that it's not getting it's not slipping up, especially because once again this is slippery fabric. So take it slow. When I do a double needle, I do like to lengthen the stitch. I go to a 3.2. At this point, pull out the chart so you can see the measurements of where your binding is supposed to line up. I pinned the two side seams in place on the swimsuit. Off camera, I had figured out with the binding where the straps tie back option, how long those straps needed to be. And so I measured in, I think it was 13.25 inches, and stuck a pin in there on each side. And then I found the center of the binding as well and lined that up with the center back of the swim top. So I put those pins together, and then I also pinned each of the sides. So they lined up with the tops of the swimsuit at where that binding we already did was at. So I lined up these 3 points, where the straps start, on either side and the center back. After that, I added in a whole bunch of other pins just to make sure everything was secure and in place for when I go to the sewing machine. Here's a glance of what everything looks like before it's sewn, just pinned into place. Once again, the binding will be just a little bit smaller than the swimsuit itself. And then you just go ahead and either serge or sew it down. And once again, always use a zigzag if you are on a sewing machine. And with the serger, this video is sped up, but take it slow, take your time, stop before each pin so you don't run them over. I wanted to show you this other angle so you could see how I have 3 layers that I'm trying to keep in line, and because it's so slippery it can be tricky. So I would get everything lined up from one pin to the next. So as I reach a new pin, then I'd make sure that all 3 layers were where they were supposed to be and adjust them as needed, because trust me, like if the liner's not slipping, something else is. This is another time when you are stretching it to fit just slightly. You're barely stretching the binding top part to fit the base of the swimsuit. Now that your binding is attached, you're going to do the double fold. I'm doing the double fold once again. You're going to start with the straps, and I fold the 2 ends into the center and then fold it in half. And you're just going to be pinning it into place. So once again, fold both ends so that they meet and then fold it in half. And then once you reach the swimsuit bodice, you just kind of roll the fabric up, fold it halfway towards the raw edge, and fold it over. I just really like not having any raw edges showing, and that's why I like to do the double fold. Once all these hundreds of pins are in, you can start sewing. I'm on the double needle again, and be sure to take a look at your swimsuit and figure out which way will be the top for the swimsuit itself, for the bodice, and then start at one end of one of the straps and work your way all the way across. So you're going to be going from one strap all the way around the back of the swimsuit, and you're going to end at the end of the other strap. Just like with any binding project, I like to look underneath every once in a while and make sure that my fabric is still folded under and that it's not slipping up. If you have chosen the sewn in strap option, then to finish off the straps, you will find the center back and sew them with just 2 straight stitches across to hold them in place. If you are doing the tie back option like I am, then one suggestion is to fold the end in half and stitch across. I decided to actually loop it around and make a little knot. I'm hoping to get some cute beads to slip on here and do a knot on either side, but we'll see. So just wanted to show you that there are a couple options for finishing off your straps. If you have serged the top part of the swimsuit together, then to give it a clean finish, I like to also go in and fold over the serged like that chain stitch and then zigzag it down. The final step of sewing up the swimsuit is adding the elastic into the liner. So you're just going to take the bottom and get your elastic, zigzag stitch it together so it's in a circle, and then just set it right on top. Slightly stretch it as you go to stretch it to fit. I found that I didn't actually need to stretch it all that much. I like to use this one stitch that's like a wavy stitch. I'll show you at the end. But it's something that I found in swim patterns in general that has the most stretch, so I like to use it on my elastic. So there it is, and as a final step, if you'd like, you can fold it up and top stitch it with like a double needle. I don't think it's necessary, so I don't do that part. Here's that wavy stitch, number 4 on my machine, and then I like to increase the length to a 2, and it works just right for me. And there you have it. Wasn't that so simple? Best swimsuit top ever, but also super cute summer top. I've already made 3 swimsuits and 3 regular knit tops. I'll probably be making 5 more, let's be real.